how do you just now we're also talking about femininity and flowers. How do you feel like our role and identity? And I'm not saying identity in the sense of you being a woman in the art world. I'm also saying you being a woman and being an artist.
I'm trying to articulate what the thoughts that are running through my head about that because I feel so strongly about empowering the voices of women.
I'm sure we've all heard or felt the comments too, Kelly. Like I went to a networking opportunity early on and it wasn't for artists, it was small business owners. And I walked in the room and they said, "Oh,
Yeah, my experience also with that was I think in order to get into galleries, and I mean, it's been very challenging as a single mom of two kids and being an artist and really trying to hold on to being an artist.
In my particular case, that I am kind of switching from energy to this other energy, actually to be like, or to realize that I am a women artist.
Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Arts to Hearts podcast. I'm Charuka and I'm back with four amazing guests from none other than our upcoming book, 101 Art Book. I'm very excited to introduce you to four amazing women artists who are published in the book. And I am very excited to not only share their work, but the idea is to also know about who they are, what they do, the work they make, and also have fun in the conversation. Welcome to the podcast, Amanda, Prema, Mahshid, and Kelly.
Hi,
Thank you.
hello."
thanks for having
Thank you
Hello,
us.
so much,
everybody.
Charuka,
Yeah.
for
In the meanwhile, let's start with Amanda. Amanda, could you introduce yourself, who you are, what you do?
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I am an emerging artist this year. I've had a brush in my hand since I was a little girl, but more I owned a spa and I was doing wedding makeup for enormous bridal parties up to and just before COVID, where that was obviously very hard on the spa industry and the aesthetics. So I always had friends that would encourage me and say, "When are you going to paint a canvas, not a face? When are you going to paint a canvas?" And I was like, so intimidated by the fine art world. I had come from a theater degree, went early in my 20s, and I went, yeah. So I studied theater for 4 years and in Toronto, Ontario. And so at that time, I kind of said, I'm never going back into the fine arts again. It was very intimidating. It was a very hierarchical, time where no matter there was no opportunities for self promotion, no matter how talented or skilled or the skills you developed. Everybody just told you when it was your turn and when it was your time to shine. So I said, I'm never doing that again. And then, so during COVID, yes, I was at home with my 2 year old. I was telling some of the girls earlier, and in that lockdown, I was the primary parent and at home with our little girl, and we took up gardening. And it just completely healed my heart and opened, allowed me to feel safe and vulnerable. And for the first time, I finally took the paintbrush to the canvas and discovered painting florals and have just been going strong ever since. so the so now I've thank you. Yeah. So now I am in May at Wesleyan Gallery in London, Ontario. I am going to be participating in not only my very first gallery show ever, but I'm in a group show with a handful of very talented. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So a handful of other floral artists that I was last year I attended the show and I was actually scared to walk up to and talk to, and now I'm in the show sharing the wall space with these girls. Isn't it funny what a year can do? So that's thank you. Thank you. It's been a whirlwind, but it's all about keeping that momentum going and keeping a positive attitude and not letting any opinions drive you in a direction. You kind of have to forge that path yourself. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Amanda. That was a wonderful story and an intro, and I can't wait to hear more from you. Who's going next? Mashid or Prema? Any of you?
My name is Kelly Angelovic. I live in Boulder, Colorado, in the U.S. I've been a working artist since about 2008. I used to do a ton of licensing and hand lettering, and in the last few years, it's really evolved and shifted away from that into painting, which just I love the challenge of it. I love how hard it is, um, because it is hard every single day. Um, but there's something about it that really speaks to my soul. Um, and so I do that. And then I also work with other artists as a coach, which is also really, really rewarding and awesome. Yeah. Yes. Empowering women is kind of where I'm coming from. Yeah.
What about you, Prema? Do you want to join in?
Yes, hi everybody, nice to meet you. My name is Marcela, and by my other name is Prema. That's the one that I like use more. I am from Costa Rica, and I've been painting like long time, like for 30 years or something like that. But I had this, I don't know, I had this fear of not being good enough for a long time. So I decided that I had to go to the executive corporate world, that I can make it there like a man, and I don't need a man, so I can be a man myself. So this is kind of weird, and I'm women theme project, But the thing is, like, thank God I'm changing. I have been changing, and so I kind of always had the painting, but as a mean of releasing all my voices, like negative voices, like if I am depressed, I paint. If I am in love, I paint. If I am upset, I paint. And then well, I and because of the corporate world, I went to Panama, and I lived there for almost 8 years, and I painted there just in case of a crisis or something like that. But I think because of most of inner work that I have been doing, so I was able to quit the job that I was, came back to Costa Rica, and it's been 2 years. And since I got back, I start painting like big time. Like I cannot stop painting. So, but it's also like the healing of coming back to my country, to myself, to my real self, to not the one that has to go to the corporate, and recovering also my feminine side. And when I did this set of flowers, it was like an honoring to myself. So I don't know if that happens also to you. I imagine you also have that when we start a painting, then all of the sudden we start relating with that. And then like you paint, then you put it there, and then she comes back, and then you start like having this evolving, like, or evolution, I don't know the word, like in yourself. So that's about it. So I just, yeah. So it's been like a healing process.
Yeah, I think that's. I think a lot of us would relate to this for sure. Okay, Mashi, do you want to go next?
Sure, I guess I'm the one left. So, um, hello again. It's really nice to meet everyone here and just to hear like your journey and how you where you are. It's really fascinating. I have been painting and drawing forever. I started, I think it was like I was 13 or 14. I told my parents this is what I'm going to do. And at the time, I lived in Iran, and it was during the Iran-Iraq war as well. I grew up with revolution, and that's war and 8 years of it, and before coming to Canada without my parents at the age of 16. But I always drew, and coming from that society. I mean, it's a lot of societies similar. It's like you either become a doctor or you become a nurse and engineer, and anything else is a disgrace. So I decided to be the disgrace. And but I've always painted, and flowers. It's interesting because flowers has been an element that, and I call it an element because I'm actually more of a portrait and figure painter, but flowers have always been present because flowers, it's like, even as a kid, I would go and pick flowers and come and sit and draw them. I would, my allowance for the month, I would use a little bit of my allowance to go buy flowers and do a setup and then paint from them. And it's been an element that constantly comes in and out. And it's a safe subject for me. It's a healing subject. It's just like when I want to get away from a very heavy stuff, that's where I go to. Um, so this last series that I'm working on is back to full on flowers. um, it is gonna change. I know it's gonna change, and it go into a combination of perhaps figure, portrait, and flowers again. I can't just stay with it because I'm so involved with um, issues of healing, whether it's been mental health with children. I've done a whole series of children with portraits and animals, or anything that animals that relate to them. And then when COVID hit, I started actually working with military, well, Canadian Armed Forces veterans and active members who are suffering and living with PTSD. So that has taken on its toll on me, and there was no flower yet. In one of my works, I actually dreamt that I am vomiting a flower, and I woke up and yeah, I have that painting actually. It's one of my, I did probably, I think, two self portraits that are with flowers coming out. And I actually had to walk around the neighborhood and think, because I could feel it in my throat. And I woke up and I'm like walking around the neighborhood for a few days. And all of a sudden, I see this magnolia tree that was blooming. And I'm like, ah, that is the flower. I mean, I still don't know what's the symbolism, but it's okay because I don't have to dig into it too much. It's just what it is. And it's became the voice of the wounded. So the flowers are, to me, are the voice, right? It is the voice of the wounded that needs to heal, um, and the whole series is now going into being inspired by Rumi's poem, where it says, um, "I bloom from it's blooming from the wound where I once bled." So it is, flowers are a healing. It's a new birth. It's hope. It's all of those things that we need to be able to move forward. And it's just very, thank you, yeah, it's very much of that. And I know in the art world, with the conceptual art world, especially when you're like dealing with public art versus commercial art and all that, it's always a battle. And they're like, oh, you're just a chickadee painter, or you're just a flower painter. It's like, well, flowers are not just flowers. Like, what do they symbolize? And it is very feminine. So being able to say, well, I am feminine. I want to remain feminine. It's a feminine energy that heals. So why not celebrate? So it was wonderful. Yeah, it was wonderful to be in a group, of women who all are true to that essence of femininity. So thank you for including me in the book. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much for sharing your work with us and sharing it with the world now. So it's our honor for sure. It's so interesting, this is a very common topic conversation, but also very less spoken about. I remember, in the initial years, a lot of time artists, and we've had this conversation within our own community, and my own artist friends and everything, like how in the beginning people would say, oh, flowers are just for beginners, or you need to be more of a serious artist. On the contrary, I think it is so much more important, like you both said, Prema and Mashid, like you know it is so important as a healing part of us, like what we paint is, and the femininity, and I do definitely associate um how so much healing art brings. And it's also, I don't know how it works for men, but I really feel it does help me connect with my feminine side more, specifically like Prema, you said, like, we feel like we have to do this and that, a lot of masculine energy, versus when you get fluid in your art, it really gives you a lot of feminine energy, right?
Yes, and I think that exploring feminine energy and being able to live in that space is it's quite vulnerable. I remember having my daughter coming from, school and university and corporate, like you said, and push, push, push. And then when I had this little baby girl, I remember communicating to my husband, I don't know how to nurture her because I don't know how to soften myself enough in this new space, in this new role as a mother. And then I think, like you said, the symbolism, and Marshid said, working with the flowers, and like it softens you. It's like it's what we need that comes out of us. And at that time, I needed to learn how to let that armor go and learn how to be more vulnerable to be the mother I wanted to be. So flowers kind of like, yeah, they come out of you as a symbol of that growth.
I also want to talk a little bit about how do you, um, just now we're also talking about femininity and flowers. How do you feel like our role and identity? And I'm not saying identity in the sense of you being a woman in the art world. I'm also saying you being a woman and being an artist. Um, does that impact your work? How you think, your uh, your expression, the subject matter, what matters to you? For example, for me, a lot of my own work is extremely hyper influenced by being a woman. I like Mashid. I grew up in India. Very patriarchal, grew up in a setup where I saw women not being able to voice, very underrepresented. Um, Finding like I just never felt enough in the sense of how women were and are being treated. And that is why even with Arts to Hearts project, I'm deeply passionate, doing, because I know one thing best is what it means to be a woman who does not feel represented, or who doesn't have a voice, or not having a community. And I feel like that has really shaped my life and my work as an artist. I want to understand your stories on your how does that work for you all.
I'm trying to articulate what the thoughts that are running through my head about that, because I feel so strongly about empowering the voices of women. Um, I was just reading a book called Playing Big by Tara Moore, and it's all about it's a lot of it is just encouraging women um, to really trust those dreams that they have, to go after what they want. And it talks about all of the socializing that gets in the way of that for us. But the overarching premise of the book is that we are in this transitional time where the world for the past couple millennia has really been designed for men by men. And we are in this time period right now where that's starting to change, and where we can't see the future, but we're all trying to use our voices for a future that better serves all of our children, um, that serves everyone and not just white men. And so I think a lot of my work is about that. It's about empowering women. It's about putting something beautiful out in the world. It's about encouraging other women. Like, if I show up and I go after my dreams and I put my voice out there, that also will inspire other women to do the same thing and will help move us to this better world where we are all more equally represented.
I'm sure we've all like heard or felt the comments too, Kelly. Like I went to a networking opportunity early on, and it wasn't for artists, it was small business owners. And I walked in the room and they said, "Oh, um, you must be the artist, and it looks like you paint flowers. That looks like it's your subject." Because and yes, or like the average, and it's just like, oh, so, but that encourages you to, or has encouraged me in my work to explore the strength and the resilience and the messaging behind, well, it's not just flowers. They're not delicate, the things they go to, the environment that they, not at all, right? The environmental challenges they go through to survive and thrive and just continue to burst and blossom and through such a short lifespan. And yeah, it's like you said, it's us existing and walking into that when that messaging's already been decided for us in the room and we have to turn it around. Like what's wrong with, as you're labeling me, the pretty girl that paints flowers. There's more depth to that.
But also, there's, I think, something also with femininity, because flowers are considered to be feminine, and women who um, look feminine, there's a certain stereotype that feels like, okay, if you have this femininity.
There's a certain dismissal still that exists. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, my experience also with that was I think in order to get into galleries, I was working, and I mean it's been very challenging as a single mom of two kids and being an artist and really trying to hold on to being an artist while I'm teaching and providing for my kids and raising them by myself. It was very difficult, and then going to galleries because I was also dealing with subject matters that always deal with identity displacement and survival of many things. I had this whole series based on Muslim women in exile, and I went forward with that to galleries. And well, I lived in Ottawa for 20 years. I just moved to Scarborough. So Ottawa is also very conservative, very closed, and when it comes to the arts, it's getting much better now. Um, but it was always very much dismissed because that's too much of a cultural topic. Oh, don't use Islamic symbolism, or don't use um, Middle Eastern patterns, all general. In your work, it's too we can't sell your work. We can't sell your work. So I constantly have to change, and I would go back into my flowers. So I said, okay, I'm going to do this whole set of flowers. I did one full year. I produced in 8 months. I did 22 paintings, and I went forward. I applied to 46 galleries, three answered, and one was interestingly, we want number 2 and 3 and 4 in different colors reproduced. I'm like, it's not a print shop. Yes. And then I had one gallerist in Ottawa who picked me up, right? Right. So I had, yeah, I had this one gallery who picked me up, and he was really good. And then he just, that was at the beginning, and then he says, but he heard my story about how I've come to Canada, how I've survived and all that stuff. And then he said, you come from the mouth of evil, why are you painting flowers? So you know that how that ended up being. I'm not with that gallery anymore, but just a commentary. It's like i can't I can't be feminine because or if I'm painting flowers, then it's considered, there's a dismissal of it. Yet the gallery wants you to, they don't want to deal with other topics because it's not sellable, or it's not a product that they can sell to people. So they're looking for, and they're like, oh yeah, like stick with painting flowers because you can sell. And then when they get to know me, they're like, but why are you painting flowers, as if it's not good enough. So being a female also, it's like, oh, you have two kids and you're a single mom. I don't know if I want to pick you up because you're not going to produce enough. Or it's been definitely a struggle to um, remain as an artist.
I think what's funny too is from my background in theater is there were these archetypes of women when you study acting and characters. And with when he or she, I don't know, but when they made that comment, I hear, you've been through such a hard time. We want the narrative of the warrior woman, the Viking woman, the Wonder Woman. We want to see that represented. We don't want to see your delicate feminine, the vulnerability, that we don't want to see that existing. We want to hear this story. And it's always the like, their notion of elevating women was to celebrate the hardness in them. And that's what I got. The net I got caught in was, well, yeah, you survive better being the hardened one. I don't know.
No, I in my particular case, that I am kind of switching from energy to this other energy. actually to be like, or to realize that I am a women artist, like that has helped me a lot. Even in my current work that I work full time in logistics and management and so on, but only the perception that I change about myself, that I am really an artist, that I am sensitive and I am vulnerable, and I want to inhabit my female energy, it has changed a lot. I mean, like even like my creation, so to speak, process, not only for the canvas but in my business, it has changed a lot. Like how I treat people, how I am more kind or try to be more kind, or so that has helped me a lot. And even like before, like I didn't tell nobody that I paint because I was kind of ashamed, or because I was this powerful Margaret Thatcher, so to speak, women. And now I'm like, oh, I am having this exhibit, and I am actually exhibiting. And even with all that fear, that I understand what Amanda said, it's like, it's this kind of that we are like in a shell, and then in the moment that we exhibit, something happened. Yeah, exactly, it's a new being. Yeah.
And we can get comments sometimes too where it's like, what? Wait, like that's not the version of Marcella, or that's not the version of Amanda that I'm used to. And there's a lot of fear with kind of reintroducing yourself, especially in a more vulnerable, soft and sensitive version of yourself. That's terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's so much of dichotomy in the sense that um, how people say, oh, flowers heal people, and that is also a fact that s- flowers as a subject matter is one of the most highest selling you know subject matter, but also where people who are painting that side also feel subjected to, um, they may not be a serious artist, or they just having that dismissal that we've just been spoken about. It also confuses a lot of artists, because I think, like you said, Prema, like, we feel like we need to be someone else in order to be accepted, valued, recognized. And in that process, we forget to become who we actually are. And that also, yeah, that, like you said, we are women. And that also means that we recognize, and there's a natural energy a lot of us would have, and we embrace that. And sometimes there's also this shame, like you said, of being that feminine, having that femininity, and it becomes a lot more confusing for a lot of us. And until we find ourselves and call it a day, and we're like, okay, I think a lot of artists reach that point, and we're like, okay, I'm done being everything you want me to be. I'd rather be myself.
Well, I think that's one of my favorite things about being 46 is that that's like happening. um, the the older I get, the more like it's like peeling layers of like armor off that I you know added when I was younger to protect myself. And the older I get, the more I just want to shed all of that and be the truest, most authentic version of myself. And I think that that's one of the most beautiful things about women in midlife is they they just say f the rest of you. This is who I am. Yeah, f exactly for flower too. All of it, all of it. I think the world is we do the world a service by being the most authentic, true versions of ourselves. We need more of that rather than watered down versions of where we're protected and armored up.
Yeah, you can make a lot of people like I'm at that stage 10 years younger than you here, and I'm just no, not to compare, but like I'm in 10 years I want to be there. But right now I'm at the stage where I've made that decision. I've made the choices to be, the artist that I am, and you're breaking certain relationships because you're upsetting people with those choices. You're losing the friends. You're seeing which family members are supporting. Yeah. So I'm in the like make a mess stage before I decide who's coming with me forward for the next 10 years. Yeah, it's girl, thank you. But I love that this conversation is kind it's that we're covering the different stages.
I love that. I love this conversation, which also brings me to the part. If you guys are interested, I'd love to. I have a sample of my book I've shown you before. I also, because we were also speaking about floral and everything, and the work that we have published in the book itself. This is a very rough sample. I have my final sample, and by the time we release this episode, this will be out for ordering and pre orders, and I'm very excited. So please, everybody who's listening to this, make sure you support the work and see the work of all these amazing artists and buy a copy for yourself. Do you want to talk about the work that we've published a little bit so that when people actually look at it, they can really hear your voice? Okay, perfect. Okay, so I know, I'm sure you also know, but let's start with I have first Amanda with me. Amanda, your work that we have, Inferno Embrace, it's an oil on canvas. Do you want to talk about a little bit thoughts, taking us behind the scene of what this work means to you?
Yes. So speaking on where we just came from with as you craft more of your identity and who you decide you're going to be for the second part of your hopeful long life, um, this piece speaks to the relationships that take care of you and are coming forward with you as you continue to grow, and it speaks to that not everybody is going to come forward with you and be supportive. And so Inferno Embrace depicts two beautiful flaming peach and purple irises that came up in my garden last year. And the final painting is exactly how these flowers grew and represent the reference photo. And the one is kind of being hidden behind but nurtured by the other one that's kind of positioned over top of it. And they were just so fragile, delicate, ruffled, feminine, and they grew together, they lived together, they thrived together, and then they passed together as the fall weather came and took them. And I am my work represents. I like to challenge the notion that beauty always fades. It doesn't have to, and I paint my flowers until they come back to life. And I just had to bring these two back to life. So the term inferno embrace, it has a lot to do with the ups and downs of relationships. But if you just hold together and stay together, you can get through anything together. So that's what the piece represents.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful. And also, I could relate with the idea of you being in a nurturing stage in your life right now, being a mother. And I feel like now that you're letting us know about your thoughts behind it, I feel like because I think different stages of our life really do impact the work that we make and the stories we are looking for and we want to share with the world.
I think whether you look at the painting as a mother or you're caregiving a parent at the end of their life stage, or you're looking at it as a partner and a lover, you will see the relationship that you need to see and the support within the piece for what you need.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I have next on my screen work by Kelly, and it's titled as Salt and Pepper. It's an acrylic um, um, painting. Kelly, do you want to share some thoughts about the work that we have in the book for you?
Yeah. The one that's in the book is a painting of a bouquet that my husband just, it was some flowers that he brought home. And these two salt and pepper shakers that my mom had given me. Um, they actually, I grew up with this. So they're like this beautiful, like seafoam green color, this gorgeous glass. And I grew up with these salt and pepper shakers in my house. So they make me think of my childhood. Um, and I painted this little still life right around a little bit before my daughter's 13th birthday. And so I was just thinking about this through streak from my they belonged to my grandmother originally. They were passed down to my mom. She's now given them to me. And I was thinking about my daughter, who is, I was actually having a heart attack because she's leaving in 5 years, and all of a sudden that seems like the blink of an eye. 13 is when they start out, it seems like it's going to last forever. And I was just thinking about, like, we only have 5 summers left with her living at the house. Probably, we'll see how that goes. But um, it was really just kind of paying homage to this beautiful line of ancestry that I can trace through my history as well as what's going to be the legacy after me. And so I wanted to include this salt and pepper shakers, also because of the color. And I just love to play with color. And I'm always painting flowers. It's something that I come back to again and again. It evolves no matter what iteration of my career I'm painting flowers. But that particular piece was really just thinking about this line of women that came before me and will go after me. So that's where that came from.
I also like the domesticity. Like, a lot of times I have lost my mom in COVID, the second wave, and I do relate to this. And this is something I really, really think about a lot, because my mom died very young, in the sense she was just she's just started her 50s. She got married very, very young, and she was very excited about life. And I'm not married, I don't have children, and all my siblings and everybody has their own family. So there's this, in India, and I'm sure Mahshid could relate with this. While in Southeast Asian countries, there are a lot of legacies, in the sense of, when your mom's alive, if you're getting married, you get a piece of something, maybe just the jewelry. It's like a carry down. They're like heirlooms, and uh, as a woman, we share a lot of life milestones with our mothers, and this is something that I've been consistently, like, now when I remember, she used to cook. I used to love the food she used to make. I've enjoyed, like, whenever I pass through the kitchen, I can feel her presence. She used to love fashion and jewelry. So, like, how these small things that people spend time and be around with, they're just no more objects. Like, they're telling you a story, and they, like, like Amanda also said, like, not nothing, even people, let alone beauty, nobody fades away. Like, we always live in another form, maybe sometime through our children, through our memories, actions, I don't know.
Absolutely. And that's part of like the salt and pepper shakers makes me think of my own childhood. I mean, that was part of it, is like this nostalgic memory of being in the kitchen with my mom, unloading the dishwasher, and they were just always part of that experience.
I love that. I love this conversation, because so far, one book takes us from idea to conception. It takes a couple of months for us to produce, and we look at your work day and night. Like you've all known, we've had some lot of thrills creating this set of book. We had to change our layouts, because I was absolutely not very happy how it was looking at that point. Now I am, and we wanted to make sure that we bring out the best. But also, like, when we look at the work, it's work. But when I'm hearing your stories, it's so much more. It's like, when I look at it again, I will never see, yeah, I'm never seeing flowers again. I'm seeing, now when I'm looking at your work, Kelly, it makes me feel home. Before, it was a painting that I could see. So I love that. I have I have Mahshid on my screen. Mahshid's work on my screen, and it's titled "Beyond Ourselves," and it's this beautiful flower zoomed in. It's an oil and silver on canvas. Mahshid, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. It's Beyond Ourselves. The title came after the painting, as it usually happens, right? I started painting it. It was I think the first all the photo shoots that I do from the photos as reference for these zoomed in. It's very much in your face, sort of an image where it's like you have no choice but to look at it. But it is, when you are painting, especially with the rose, I find that there is this spiral movement that keeps going and going. You just keep going, and it's very much of, yeah, and they're very challenging, because every petal, like, how deep am I going to get, especially with representational work, and um, it just, you kind of lose yourself in it. So that's why I went beyond ourselves, because if you are, hopefully, some audiences can relate to it that way, or get lost into it, then it becomes a more of a meditative state of being, because that's how, when you paint flowers, you want to, um, I don't know, there's a certain point where you do lose yourself in painting, and it just becomes a little bit of perhaps how you treat flesh, and and then you think about each individual petals. And um, the flower was actually my husband bought these flowers for me. I guess Kelly really said you got those flowers too. And then I took pictures of them and then put them in different settings. And even to the point of, when they were, I have another one that's like when he was dying. And before I was putting it into the bin, I was like, oh my God, in the bin, I started taking pictures in the bin of it, just kind of like playing with it and still caressing it. And I do use also a lot of my work. Silver and gold comes and go. I do some gilding. I do teach egg tempera and 13th century techniques all the way to present. That's one of the courses I teach. Um, so yeah, I've been teaching for over 20 years. So it's when I deal with gilding, it's also that there is a translucency and then there is a reflective quality as well. With this particular one, I used silver because when you get close to a silver surface, it's like a mirror. So the color of your shirt can show in it, and you can put your hand close to it, and you can see your fingers. So it is very much of a reflective surface where you see yourself in it, and it's transient. It changes because as your shadow moves, as you move, it actually you can see yourself move in it. So it's very much of, I'm looking at this flower, it's in your face, you have no choice but to look at it, but look beyond yourself, look beyond ourselves, into nature, because that's the only way we can heal. So it is very much of a healing message, perhaps. So hope for audiences to be able to connect to it.
And I now when I look at it, it is right on my face, and I'm forced to like literally look at the flower. Yeah. I wish I had a way to screen share. I don't know if I can, let me see if I can attach a file here. Um, I don't think so. Let me see. No, yeah, there's no way for me to do that. But I'll email it to you once we have it. Oh, you guys have your drafts? Oh, actually, you can. You can. No, you can. If you want to look it at now, you can also have access to your drafts. You have your drafts. Yeah, you can see it in the draft. And that's actually where I'm seeing it. Okay, I have Prema's work next, which is called Hibiscus in My Yellow. It is a bright, I love how yellow it is, and it's right like Mahshid said on the face. It's an acrylic painting, and I would love to hear what Prema you have to say about it.
Yeah, I love that series, and I start doing just one flower, like a huge flower, like a big one by one Canva flower for my bedroom, because I didn't know what to paint for my bedroom, and then I said, wow, flower, and I really love Georgia O'Keeffe, so I just copy a painting, and then it was very nice, and but then I sold it, and okay, so I'm going to do another one, but I'm not going to do any more pictures, so I'm going to have like take it out from my mind, and then I start like like you do, looking at flower, taking picture, dissecting the flowers, learning about flowers, knowing why what like get more conscious about flowers, and looking at them and so on. So then I started this series, and then I did a purple one, and then I did a orange one, and then I did this yellow one. But the thing is, like, in the process of painting and knowing and learning about the flowers and having all these details that are so subtle, the vulnerability, the femininity, and I was also like studying the parts of the clitoris, and I'm like, wow, this is like a flower as well, and I don't know, it's just like that. The yellow one is like I was so happy, it was like I was learning so much about these flowers and myself. Like I always say I started doing a tribute for Georgia O'Keeffe, and I end up doing a tribute to myself. Like I don't know what happened, like in my mind, that I am those flowers. Like all those flowers are myself. And I don't know if it's my genital area or it's my heart or it's my pleasure self, or it's just like this getting to be this flower myself. And it's amazing. And I end up the series with a black and white flower, and I had seven of them, and I sold them all. And I've been thinking, well, maybe I should start doing more of this. But they're very big. Like you have to see. Sorry, you have to see it. Like they are so big, and I'm not very detailed. I am more an abstract painter. So this is like this flower is made all with spatula. It has no, how do you say, pincel? Yeah. So yeah, that's the story. Yeah, and it's the only one that has the how do you call that? Is all the flowers are like, they don't have like a thing. All my flowers are like without how do you call that in English? This thing that is coming out from the hibiscus. Like you should know much. Eso, like an antenna. That's the only, yeah. That's the only like male flower that I have, kind of thing.
I love that. And also when I look at your brush strokes, it also feels like a lot of Hilma style because I love like, how patchy, like also it has that abstractness. It does have a lot of definition. It does look like a flower, but it also has that I can see, like you said, also losing yourself. I see you have that definition, but you've also tried to lose yourself in that process. Thank you so much, Fema. And it's exciting. I've learned so much about your work. I've seen your work for so many months now. And I'm so glad everybody who has and you really want to look at the work. And what's interesting about this book is that you can always, it's a, it's, I feel like these are treasures. I keep it in my coffee table in our offices. We distribute it to so many offices. They love to collect it. And it's such a treasure keep. You can look at these beautiful pages, but once you decide, you can also hang and frame one that you like. So you make sure you grab a coffee for yourself and look at the amazing work of all these amazing work we've spoken about. One last call, Mashi, Amanda, all of you. Anyone who's listening to this episode, where can they find you? How can they support you, follow you, and want to learn more about your practice?
Is A for Amanda go first again? Yeah. So, oh, come on. I can do. So yeah, you can find me on www.amandainglisfineart.com. You can also search Amanda Inglis Fine Art on Instagram. The website's going through a little bit of construction as I work to grow my business and my brand. So if anything, find me on Instagram and you can follow my journey and growth there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Prema, do you want to go next? I know you have a thought.
Yeah, sorry, I have to leave. Okay, let's see. You can find me on my Instagram that I am going to spell it if I can do it well. So that will be art. I, I don't know why I did it like that. I mean, it's too complicated. It's like art hyphen. How do you call the hyphen that is not the hyphen but is the hyphen underneath? I mean, it's just so complicated. Underscore. Okay, good. Art underscore by underscore M Marcela.
So if you don't figure it out from here, make sure you can find the link in the article that will feature all of their work, the link to the book, everything else, and all their Instagram links. So don't worry, we have you there. You want to go next, Mashid?
I have to go, guys. Thank
And big congratulations on being published. Bye.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to find me, you can find me at www.mahshidfarhoudi.com. So please don't forget spelling my Mahshid, the name. I have two H's, Mahshid. And then I also have Instagram. You can find me at Mahshid underscore Farhoudi underscore art. You can also find me under Ottawa School of Art. I have been a faculty member for 20 years. You can find me with City of Toronto, Clark Art Center. I will be there. And you can find me also through Red Blanket Project Official's YouTube channel. And that's how it goes. And then now in the Arts to Hearts book, Floral Edition, that's where you can find me.
You can find me if you just Google my name. I come up really quickly. It's Kelly with a Y. My last name is Angelovic, so Angel Ovic. My website is kellyangelovic.com, and my Instagram handle is at kellyangelovic. So it's luckily Angelovic is a unique name, so it's easy to find me. Yep. Thank you so much, Ruka.
No, I'm just recalling you're also on a Women in Arts network, and people can, you have a beautiful profile, and people can also look at your work from the book, but also on our website via that. Thank you so much, guys. I am so excited. I'm very excited to release this book, and by the time everybody, this episode is out, we'll have the book in on the pre-orders on, and I'll have a sample in my hand right there. But thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. If you do like the conversation, you did find the works and in stories interesting, I highly encourage to buy yourself a copy. Make sure, if not, you can of course buy the art. They have such beautiful works that would make a perfect home for you. Apart from that, if you do like, you can support by sharing this episode, tagging our artist, us, sharing this in your stories, or just leaving a nice comment on their Instagrams, and visiting their websites. I think support can go in so many different ways, whatever suits you. And we really appreciate each one of you for joining us and for your support or through this thrilling ride, because like you must know by now, every book we publish, it's a true collaboration with artists that we do. We're constantly taking your feedbacks, asking for your reviews, edits and edits and edits, and it's a lot of effort, and from both the ends. So thank you so much for your participation.
Yeah. And congratulations.
Yes, congratulations, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I hope to see you soon again. Bye bye.
Yes, I'm going to go find you guys on Instagram.
Me too.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.
I'll need you. No, 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 no. I need